Welcome to Northwest Aerospace News Live. I am Jennifer Ferrero, a writer for the magazine and your host. In today's episode, I'm joined by Mark Norton and Staci Nelson to talk about the I-90 Aerospace Corridor Conference. It's going to be held in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, May 30th and 31st. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You bet. Well, we appreciate that you're here today, and it's an exciting conference, and so we'll get into a little bit of the meat of the conference and what's coming up. So, Staci, you're the Executive Director of the Inland Northwest Aerospace Consortium, otherwise known as INWAC, and you've been organizing this conference for several years. What do you love about this conference?
This conference is really sort of the highlight of every year for me, because it's our annual chance to bring all of our members and really the aerospace supply chain, from central Washington, across North Idaho, and into Montana, all together in one place at one time. And so the conversations and the camaraderie is really, second to none. And I always leave more energized than I even start the conference with. So looking forward to it.
Okay, well, Mark, you're the principal for your own business, Norton Strategic Consulting, and the chair for INWAC. So I'm glad that you're able to be here today. What's the value for the regional manufacturing industry with this conference?
Well, I think there's a couple of value propositions. One is just the networking, of course, and meeting other companies. There's always kind of this purchasing supply chain piece of people looking for vendors and so forth. And then just sharing, I think, best practices with each other. And really, I think the main feature and what we often have people compliment us about is the networking and just this very informal, warm connection. And I think that's one of the things that differentiates our event.
Yes. Well, Staci, I know that the keynote speakers and panelists are becoming finalized at this point. What can we expect regarding hot topics this year?
Yeah. Well, our theme for this year is All Systems Go. And the idea behind that is that the ever increasing pace of business is requiring that our companies speed up their ability to change, to innovate, and to operate in order to, be successful. And so we have a great slate of speakers lined up that are going to address kind of a variety of topics, including Tyler Alvarado from Continuous Composites. He is an international innovation leader located right here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And so we'll be glad to have him back. Also are bringing in Jonathan Reynolds from Titus Talent Strategies, talking about culture and how we can automate and personalize that process at the same time. And then we have a whole smart manufacturing demonstration zone in our expo hall. And along with that, then we'll have speakers that are talking about automating, improving processes, and increasing efficiencies in our manufacturing facilities. So take home actionable items, hopefully, that attendees will be able to see and hear.
Wonderful. And I know that we once again have Sam, and is it Wolkenhauer?
Yes.
I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, but is he from the Idaho Department of
Labor?
Yes.
He's a fan favorite that he comes every year, and we hear economists. And that it's not always, like, oh gosh, a must attend, but anybody who has heard him speak and the delivery and the entertaining value that he adds to really pertinent and valuable information is definitely something that people look forward to.
I'll tell you, he does make the economy sound interesting. It is engaging when he speaks. So when he talks, people listen.
It's true.
Well, I know that one of the big issues this year is workforce development. And so, Mark, what do you think we'll see at the conference this year in that realm?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned Sam, because he spoke about 6 years ago and at our conference. And as I was watching his presentation, he put up a chart showing kind of the trajectory for the industry. And a part of that was workforce. And at that time, 6 years ago, he said, lack of workforce is going to be the biggest gating factor on growth. And boy, do we know that now, right, with what's happened with COVID. So we're looking at a couple of different things that we're tying several themes together around workforce for the conference. Titus, Jonathan Reynolds, as I mentioned, these folks really have a system around culture. And anybody that's trying to hire people now, especially Gen Zs, millennials, Gen X, younger people, culture is super critical, because it's one thing to hire people, it's another to keep them. And that has been a challenge for everybody. So we want to address that. Staci's referenced automation. We know, the demographics, our population is shrinking and aging. So we're just going to have a smaller workforce. And we have to figure out how to optimize our processes and how we can get by with fewer people. And the ones that we do have, we want them doing high value jobs. We don't want them putting widgets in a box all day long. So kind of the theme of the workforce is how do we tie all these elements together to help companies create a place that people want to work and also works efficiently and lets them maximize the value in their work.
Right.
And then the other thing, if I can, add to that too, probably 5 years ago now, we added a student and workforce of the future element to the event. And what we did is we started by just kind of opening the doors to students who, might be interested in aerospace in any form, whether they wanted to be a pilot or in the military or actually, help produce and make Boeing airplanes. Because what we had found is that students who expressed an interest in that often thought, okay, well, I'll get my degree and I can do that maybe at WSU or the University of Idaho, but then I'm going to have to leave and I'm going to have to go to Puget Sound or I'm going to have to go to South Carolina. And we wanted to show them that, in fact, you can build a rocket and you can build a Boeing plane and you can have part in that right here locally. And so since that time, we have been inviting students really from middle school on up through four-year schools to come and interact with industry and learn about, the supply chain and companies that are here doing great work. And it's been very successful, not only from the student side, kind of aha moments about, wow, I had no idea, but from industry side to almost go back and revisit why they got into this industry. And, the passion really that is around being part of the aerospace sector. And so we'll have this year students, again, back, and they get to go through the expo. They get to interact with the exhibitors. They get to listen to some of the speakers. And then this year, they'll also get to tour Gizmo, which is in coordination with the University of Idaho robotics program, get to go into a maker space and do some hands-on kind of playing with tools and machines.
Boy, that is just so exciting. And I know last year at the conference, I was talking with a young man and his father, and I knew his father from a different circle of networking. And he says, well, I just thought I'd bring him and see if we could introduce him to some folks. And so I'm pointing him out to U of I and just some of the other people that were exhibiting last year. So it was just really fun to see some of these kids really connecting. So, and you're right, it's about the vendors and the exhibitors that are there, and they're talking to the youth, and they're also talking to their peers and making connections as well. So, Mark, I know you alluded to the culture with regard to different generations coming together in the workplace. Is there anything else regarding culture that we need to be aware of for this conference?
I think one of the things that I know Jonathan will talk about is just putting our values in our workplace. And because I think we all spend so much time at work, and we want it to be a place that's fulfilling and a place that embodies our values that we have. And so that will be, I think, kind of a theme of this. And because you want to enjoy where you're working and you want to feel like you're making a difference. And how do we make you feel that in a workplace? And I think that's really important.
Absolutely. And prior to the conference, I think we would recommend that people check out Jonathan Reynolds and Titus Talent, because he's got some YouTube videos and really dynamic guy. So he is just one of many speakers coming to the conference that will share with us this year. So that's really exciting. Well, Staci, one of the things that I loved about this conference is the networking and the expo opportunities. So what can we expect this year with regard to networking?
Yeah, well, you referenced the expo, and that really is kind of a prime opportunity for people to interact not only with colleagues, but potential suppliers as well as potential customers. And so adjacent to the conference hall, we have an expo space that has about 60 different exhibitors on hand. It sells out every year. And so we're, filling up again this year and excited about, the companies that are, planning to be there. One of our major sponsors is Dependable Machine, and who is a distributor for Mazak. And so they bring a Mazak North America executive in to speak, in addition to a huge CNC machine that people will be able to actually, kind of see how it works and test drive it, if you will, while they're there. And so the networking opportunities, that are created, from companies like OEMs like Mazak all the way, down to those that provide lubricants and oils for, factory floors, are all there. So it's a great opportunity for that. And then the other piece that we include is some B2B meetings that are one-on-one opportunities where attendees can sign up with buyers of OEMs, tier 1, tier 2 suppliers, and have just them, for a block of time, and really talk directly without distraction about, their products and services. So that's always a very popular part of the event as well.
Great. And I know, Mark, you lead or you have led in the past some breakout sessions as well. And then you, of course, own Norton Strategic Consulting. So have you had a chance to do some of those B2B one-on-one meetings? And what's your experience been?
Yeah, my experience has been great. We were fortunate this year to kind of through some of our connections with people at the conference to become facilitators for the Aerospace and Aviation Committee in the legislature.
Oh.
So that was a pretty significant contract that we got out of that. And I think, don't you think, I think the supply chain people that are there, they kind of like, it's a very informal atmosphere. Of course, anybody that's been to the resort knows how beautiful it is. And it just kind of sets a great tone. It's very collegial. So yeah, we've had great feedback about it.
Right.
I, in fact, had a message yesterday that somebody said, has our company signed up to be a sponsor yet? Because I come every year and I really like to come. And so I want to make sure that, that I can be part and be engaged with the B2Bs, on the buyer side. So that sort of enthusiasm, even on the buyer side, I think shows us that it turns out to be worthwhile for people to participate in.
Right, absolutely. I know we just have a couple minutes left of our episode today, but I know there's a great lunch that is put on by the Coeur d'Alene Resort, and it's, of course, like you said, a beautiful facility there. So we do have some really nice opportunities to network with folks and build our businesses. Is there anything else you'd like to add about the event?
Well, just that, you referenced the location, and, the end of May is a prime time to come to Coeur d'Alene. There's ample time to be able to, take a customer or a prospect out to dinner. We have golf that is actually available to play the resort course on the Thursday morning after the event. And so it's another great opportunity to network while you're out there, trying to get the hole-in-one on the elusive floating green.
Yeah, I would say too, if they're, it's one of those places you can combine business and pleasure. So if you want to bring your family, just take an extended weekend, and it's amazing setting, as we all know, for a family.
Yeah, I know. I did talk to some people last year that were doing the golf after, and I think they were pretty excited about it, getting a lot of business done there in Coeur d'Alene. Well, thank you so much for sharing about the I-90 Aerospace Corridor Conference.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, we hope to see people there.
Absolutely. Well, you can now register for the I-90 Aerospace Corridor and Expo, and you can go to i90aerospacecorridor.org to do so. It is a really great event, so we do encourage you to register soon. And until next time, keep on engaging with the aerospace news you need to know with Northwest Aerospace News Magazine.